All right, I'd like to go ahead and reconvene our meeting from the study session. I'd like to apologize to our public for being a little late. Thank you very much for your kindness and patience. We had a lot to discuss. So we'll go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, consideration of additional agenda items. Hearing none, we will go to public comment. And I have Mr. Jim Finnemore and Art, I'm going to mess your name up, Debuse? Debuse? Debuse. Is it French? Okay, I'll continue to mess it up, but. All right, so we'll have Jim Finnemore come up first, unless you guys want to come up at the same time.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And we do have a 3-minute timeline.
Alrighty, I'd like to thank the board and staff that let's come up and talk to you. Want to give kudos to Yvonne and Alan. They took some serious time and sat down with Art and myself about a week ago and had a good meeting and brought us up to speed on some things. And then Alan took and sent me the information to where I can have all the information on all you guys' plans here. So that's great. And then, you know, you guys do a great job for what you do. And so the community, I'm sure appreciates it, but you probably don't hear a lot of it. So I personally just want to thank everybody for what you do and allow us to come down and talk to you and be part of the planning. And that's really all I had to say. Is just kudos to everybody and the staff for helping us out with all the computer stuff, because I'm real slow on that stuff. Give me a tractor and I'm good.
Jim, thank you. Anytime you want to come and compliment our work, we'll take that.
All right.
We don't get it as often. I got a couple today at the golf course. A couple people said, keep up the good work, but it's always nice to hear it from you too.
Okay, well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to just say kiddos. I agree with Jim. We appreciate Alan and Yvonne, what they did for us, and we appreciate the board. You folks have got a fan base of 2.
Art, once again, thank you for the positive comments. We appreciate it. And it's always nice to have you here too. We like to have that community engagement. So thank you. All right, we're at introductions and presentations. I didn't see any. No introductions and presentations. All right, looking for a motion to approve the treasurer's report. All right, discussion on the treasurer's report.
I did. Thanks, Mike.
I do have a couple of questions. So I was looking at the Board of Directors expense, and you know how we had the Magellan Strategies survey that was done, and then also the costs associated with the strategic plan. What line item are those expenses reflected in?
Yeah, I think we'll have to get back to you on that one. I believe strategic plan is out of the board of directors budget, but I'm not sure about the Magellan Strategies one.
Okay.
I'll make a note though, and we'll send a follow-up email.
Great, thanks. Hold on, I have one more question, but I have to do the follow-up item, so hold on. Okay. So I was looking at this, and I want to make sure I'm understanding the enterprise revenues and the enterprise expenditures. So when I look at like year-to-date actual for Adventure Golf, I can see that Adventure Golf has revenues of 1.5 million, and then expenses of $1 million. So is my line of thought thinking to say that they've generated $500,000 through July 31st of net revenues? Is that the way to look at that? And so then if I looked at, let's say, Waterworld. So Waterworld had revenues of 19 million and expenses of 9 million. So if I'm looking at that, then it would be fair to say that Waterworld has generated a net revenue of $10 million. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Margaret, I might just add to that, though. I want to make sure that that is not how the year will end up. As you know, once Waterworld
Yes.
closes, as it just did over the weekend, we still have expenses all the way to the end of the year. Also, Waterworld does not reflect the debt service or any overhead, so as Adventure Golf as well. So those numbers are not what we expect to end the year at. Just want to make sure that that's clear.
Exactly. So right now, as of the end of July, because we have $10 million in net revenue, but we're going to take some of that revenue and have capital expenditure, or we have just other operating expenses that are coming through. So this is our high cash flow season, and that kind of goes to our cash balances have increased by about 11 million because we're in our seasonal cash flow timeframe, right? So looking at that, okay. Just wanted to make sure that I was interpreting that correctly through. So, and then how was August? Now that, from an enterprise, was it on the same track? So 6 million, got it. No, 5.6 million. Okay, sorry, I didn't see that. Okay, but that's all of the enterprise funds combined. Okay. Waterworld is very, very weather dependent. We weren't having this discussion last year. Yeah.
And we're glad for the good weather.
Yes, we are.
Of course, we could use some rain now. At least the golf course could. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All approving the treasurer's report for July 2024 as presented, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve the meeting minutes, board meetings of August 6th and 20th.
I move that the Board of Directors of Highland Hills Park and Recreation District approve the minutes of the board meetings of August 6th and August 20th, 2024 as written.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the minutes? Nicole, that means you did well. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the minutes from August 6th and August 20th, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. communication and correspondence to the board. I don't think there is any. All right, Yvonne, Executive Director update, Project Tracker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So moving directly to item 5, which is the first updated item of the report. The Park and Recreation Master Plan Committee wanted to let you know that the work is continuing on the Kamenish-Carson's master plan. So thank the gentlemen for coming. We did have some good discussion with them recently and encouraging their participation in that survey work. We did find that we aren't getting as robust a response from the community, so we are going to try to go ahead and reach out a little bit further, either via Federal Heights or some other survey options that we may have to try to get a little bit more community input on that one. We found that we were getting input from mostly the user groups, primarily the disc golf users, and we just want to make sure that we're catching what the community wants as well. So we also just recently this last week submitted 3 grant applications to Adams County Open Space, as we discussed a little bit upstairs. We want to do some improvements at Commissioners Park and Rotary Park, as well as we submitted a mini grant for consulting services to study the addition of EV charging stations at certain district locations. The progress on the shelter project at Clear Creek Valley Park is coming along nicely. The 2 smaller ones are complete. And then they are working on the installation of the large event shelter. Hopefully that will be done by the end of the month. And then phase 2 of the sports complex improvements is going to, well, hopefully we'll begin this fall. We were in contract discussions with the approved contractor that you all approved at the last regular board meeting. And as was asked at the previous meeting, there's a budget summary provided at the very end of the tracker, which kind of lays out the budget as it sits today. You'll notice that there's a pretty healthy contingency, and that's a result of the good bids that we got back from the contractor. So we're just going to kind of hold that excess as contingency as we move through the project. I expect we won't spend anywhere near that.
Thank you.
So, yes, thank you. Yvonne, on the EV charging stations, so it's way too early to kind of look at
Yes, that's where we want to hire
what-
a consultant to come in and look at what properties we have, what makes the most sense, what options are there for us. And so
Right.
what we found at the last open space grant application is that the county commissioners looked very favorably at green projects. So we thought we'd go ahead and submit this consulting study.
So still some work to be done before we look at where those might go?
A lot of work to be done before that, yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Moving on to item 7, just letting you know that we're still working through, with the restaurant lease committee, working through some pending matters there. So no update to report. Item 8, Berkeley Hills Park, the neighborhood group that's kind of working on a grant for historical research is still working through that. We've kind of stepped back from our participation, and we're letting them deal directly with the state to determine whether that's even a grant eligible project down there. So we're monitoring it, but we're really not participating in that process at all, and letting that work its way through. Then moving on to item 10, the district strategic plan. We are starting to work at analyzing the capital needs identified by the plan that you all adopted at the last meeting. And so we are going to likely recommend that the capital portion of that move over to the district master plan committee. And we actually just talked a little bit upstairs about a goal of getting kind of a 5-year plan done by mid next year. So happy to have the strategic plan done, but by no means is the work done with the plan overall. So those are my updates, and I'm happy to answer any questions y'all may have.
I have a question. If I'm looking at the Park and Recreation Master Plan Committee, does that committee meet monthly? Is that?
We meet about once a month. I think the last one we canceled because we had a conflict, but I think, are we every month there, Skylar? Yeah.
Yeah, we've been meeting every month, and the 2 board representatives for that committee are Don and myself. And I think we should look at the representation of our different committees as we get into some of our work. Maybe do a study session, and then with the board as well, talking about who represents, finance, what committees do we want, capital improvement committee, and start looking at who represents our board on those committees for future work.
Yeah, and then, so Berkeley Hills Park is not part of the master plan committee, or does that get discussed there too?
We talked about it.
And it's just a separate line item because It's Berkeley Hills.
Because it's Berkeley Hills Park and that was
Got it.
a,
Okay.
it's an item that the board has been involved with in the past, so that's why it's on the tracker.
We asked that that be added to the tracker a while back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand the organization of the master plan committee and the project tracker, and now with the incorporation of the strategic plan into that, like, what are the updates that the board is gonna get from all of that?
Well, and let me be clear too, with the incorporating the strategic plan would really be just the strategic
The
plan
pla-
capital
the capital
projects,
plan,
not the
yes.
entire strategic
Yeah,
plan.
yeah. So it's meeting monthly, and it's Dawn and Warren. Got it, okay.
So the good news is we've come a long way, and we have a strategic plan, and now we can start looking at refining our work, our committees and our work. And so this isn't the end of our work in any way, shape, or form, but the strategic plan is now in place, and it can help guide and inform our work, and yet we have lots yet to do. It should be, you know, like a short-term, mid-term, and long-term type plan, and that all takes time to put into place. But just in the last year, we've come a long way towards a strategic plan. Allison, it's to you now.
All right, good evening. It's nice to see everybody. There's a legal report in your board packet. It was an interesting month. Interesting projects you sent our way, so happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, it's good to know that we're keeping you entertained or
Thank you.
interested or engaged. You got to have some fun in your work.
Absolutely. And fact is stranger than fiction.
Yes.
So,
And one of the topics that we discussed in our study session earlier today with the conveyance, so how we could protect the district's assets, which is part of the strategic plan, and ensure that our real estate assets are always, that are used for recreation and real estate purposes. You gave us a lot of good options of what we could do to move forward to protect those. What would your recommendation be for the board to how to move forward with the research that you've done for that in order to, with the ultimate goal of protecting the district's assets?
I would suggest putting it on the agenda for a future board meeting as a discussion item. So after the board's had a chance to digest the information and the discussion tonight, bring it back to a board meeting and just discuss it. I wouldn't plan on making any decisions unless you were all unanimous and really clear on what direction you wanted to go. But I think something like this takes a little time to, you gotta let it marinate a little bit, and kick it around a bit to see what direction you wanna go as a board.
Any other questions or comments for Allison? Thank you. I didn't see any old business. So moving on to new business, we have a resolution designating September Keith Haran Month. And I do think that this is something that we should read the entire resolution. So whoever would like to take that on?
I can do that. So the resolution to declare September 2024 Keith Haran Month. I move that the Board of Directors of Highland Hills Park and Recreation District approve as written the resolution designating September Keith Haran Month.
Looking for a second? We have a motion and a second, and so now we have some discussion. And Margaret, you said you would read the resolution?
Yes. Designation of September as Keith Haran Month. Whereas Keith Haran has consistently demonstrated exceptional dedication, leadership, and unwavering commitment to our community through his numerous contributions and tireless efforts throughout his 50 years of service. Whereas Keith has consistently gone above and beyond his responsibilities, ensuring that the district's facilities and infrastructure are maintained to the highest standards, contributing significantly to the well-being and satisfaction of our residents. Whereas his efforts have been characterized by a remarkable work ethic, attention to detail, and a proactive approach to problem solving, which has resulted in enhanced efficiency and effectiveness in the maintenance operations of the district. Whereas his contributions to the district include significant construction projects including Waterworld, Clear Creek Valley Park, Adventure Golf and Raceway, and numerous other facility projects. Whereas Keith Haran's contributions have not only made a profound impact on those around him, but have also set a standard of excellence and dedication that we all aspire to emulate. Now therefore be it resolved that the Highland Hills Board of Directors does hereby recognize and commend Keith Haran for his outstanding service and invaluable contributions to the district. Now therefore be it further resolved by the Highland Hills and Park Recreation District Board of Directors that September is recognized as Keith Haran Month in the Highland Hills Park and Recreation District. Way to go, Keith.
So further discussion on this one? Very impressive.
50 years is inconceivable.
Yeah, fantastic for Keith and his family and for us, for what he's done for us as well. And Yvonne and I spoke briefly that we will recognize him at an event coming up at the end of September. He unfortunately could not be here tonight, but we will make sure that he gets a nice something. All right, so all those in favor of making Keith the resolution to declare September Keith Haran Month, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That's kind of the fun stuff. All right, looking for a motion to appoint the appointment of staff to prepare the 2025 budget.
I move the Board of Directors of Hyland Hills Park and Recreation District approve the resolution to appoint Mike Ragland to prepare the 2025 district budget as written.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? We got to have somebody do it.
Now, I do have a question. Nicole, there were two resolutions. It says, this one said, motion appointed as staff to prepare 2025 budget. And then right behind it was resolution for Mike to prepare the budget. It's in the same as the board of directors.
You have a motion to approve the resolution, correct? So one's a motion, the other is the
Got it.
resolution.
This is the resolution, so the motion to approve the resolution.
So do we need to do those separately? Maybe?
I think there's two.
It's a motion to approve the resolution.
To approve the resolution. Okay.
Approving the second page.
So the resolution reads, be it hereby resolved that Mike Ragland to be appointed to prepare the 2025 Highland Hills Park and Recreation District budget and submit the same to the Board of Directors.
Yes.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? You go get him, Mike. Looking for a motion to schedule a board study session.
I move that the Board of Directors of Highland Hills Park and Recreation District amend the study session agenda to include a discussion regarding, Oh, I got the, yep. I move that the Board of Directors of Highland Hills Park and Recreation District schedule a study session for Tuesday, October 1st at 12 p.m. at the Highland Hills Sports Center to review the proposed 2025 budget.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor of study session for Tuesday, October 1st at 12 o'clock, Highland Hills Sports Center, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. On the agenda, I'm seeing a Board of Directors Committee update from the Finance Committee.
I actually think we did that at the last meeting. We will have bound financial statements, the annual report for you at the budget meeting.
I do have a question about, so that's and I was just talking to Warren about this before the meeting. That is an item going forward. Do we have like a standing item where the board, the committees, the various committees we have provide board updates, like in a formal, more formalized fashion? And so kind of what I was wondering is currently right now, because we've had several different, what are our standing board committees? And then what are our ad hoc or special committees that we have? And how do we ensure that the standing committees are providing the board of directors who don't sit on those committees with regular updates in a more formalized process? Just a question for you guys, because I know that Mike and I have been giving the finance committee updates pretty regularly, but I'm not clear about the other committees.
So Danny and I serve on the lease committee, and then we also now have a bylaws committee. And I think this is a good way to bring everybody updated, is to actually have an agenda item that talks about that. But there are also times when we have nothing to report. So we might want to just say, you know, we don't have anything at this time that we need to bring to the board. Whereas Danny and I with the lease committee, when we did have something, we brought it to the board for that board meeting. Master plan committee is done through Yvonne and her tracker typically. We can, you know, that can get pretty involved, and it can be an hour-long meeting. So we want to try to keep these moving forward. So I think that's another area that we can look at as we get into different study sessions, as well as maybe reconstituting some of our committees, is how do we then get that information to the rest of the board? And Margaret, I'm hearing that you're thinking that it would be nice to have a agenda item on an item on the agenda for these, and committee members could just say no update at this time.
Yeah, or they could say, we didn't meet
Correct.
the last.
Or they could give a very brief update. So I think that's something is that something this board would like to see move onto an agenda?
Yeah, I think that it would be easier to keep track of everything, just a check-in.
So I think that's one thing that we're asking then for, Yvonne, is to let's go ahead and have a list of committees and maybe add it to each agenda and say these are our updates, or no updates if there aren't any updates. That will also keep us on track on what committees we're working on. And then we can also then set aside who's going to serve on what committees. Does that make sense, Yvonne? Okay. Everybody else good with that?
Yeah, so I'm doing the action items. So we'd have a list of committees, and then are we adding an agenda item for future board meetings just for a committee update or not? Yeah?
We are.
Okay.
And I also think it would be nice to have the committee members listed behind it.
Yep.
so that we know who's on the finance committee, although I think I know who it is. And, but same thing with lease committee, bylaw committee, et cetera.
Okay, thank you.
And as far as bylaw committee update goes, Yvonne and I have met a couple times and we've looked at the bylaws and then we've run them over by Allison. And so we're continuing to try to get that up and running and in place so that we can update our bylaws.
Who's on the bylaws committee?
So right now it's been Yvonne and I.
Okay. I didn't even know we had that committee.
It's a super secret committee.
It apparently is.
But we meet during the middle of the day, so I'm not sure you want to join us and then we can just give you updates and then get your feedback and input. Or you can come and join us.
Oh, I think I expressed at the last board meeting that I wanted to be on that committee, so I'm a little surprised. So yes, understood. Okay, I like that idea. We're gonna add those, okay. Okay.
And Margaret, you did mention that you'd like to be on that committee. What Yvonne and I started meeting on was to just get our general thoughts before we pulled you into it, so that we could be quick with your time and make sure that you're set with where we are. So we took the initial whack at it.
Thank you.
All right, we're at Board of Directors open discussion.
I did have one item that I wanted to address is, so at the August 6th board meeting, I raised some concerns about the board minutes and whether or not we were following procedures and the approval of the minutes. And I was able to meet with Ellison to help me understand the board minutes. And so I feel good about what was in those board minutes. So I wanted to change my vote from no to yes on that. And then I wanted to make sure that it reflects that I do think that we were following the procedures that we had, but we're going to have the bylaws committee to make clarifications as needed. So I just wanted to express that. I don't know if you can change your board meeting minutes vote from no to yes after the fact, or if it even matters, but our discussion was very helpful to give me confidence.
So
we
Margaret, this
change
meeting's
them?
minutes will reflect that you've asked for that vote to be changed. And then we'll
Okay.
make an amendment to, or an addendum to those last minutes.
Okay, good. And then the only other one I had about was the committees. So, but we've already talked about the committees.
Okay, we'll go to board meeting action recap.
Okay, these are the things that I have for the action recap, is that Skylar's going to get back to us about where the Magellan's expenditures are and the strategic plan expenditures are in the treasurer's report. And then that there's going to be, I have something about Ellison's recommendation about conveyance, but I don't understand that comment.
We're gonna do, as far as the board goes, we're gonna think about it for a while.
Okay, we're gonna think about that. And then Yvonne is gonna provide a list of committees, identify if they're standing committees or ad hoc committees, and then we're gonna add an agenda item going forward for the Board of for committees update. Those are the items I had. Did I miss anything? Okay.
And with that, we're going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for coming.
That was much faster today than I thought it was. I